Greetings and salutations. Welcome to another video. It's me with Carly the dog and Maurice the cat this morning. And what we're going to do is a point and click install of Linux Mint. I am not going to open a terminal. This was a suggested video. A viewer dared me to do this. So we're going to do it. I don't need a terminal to install Linux Mint, and neither do you. This person even went so far as to say that I should uninstall the terminal. Well, we're not going to go that far. We're just not going to use it to get Linux Mint set up. That's Maurice the cat making that noise, and I've got Carly right behind me, so you may hear weird dog and cat noises this morning as we do the video, but this is real life. Hey, if you like this sort of thing, and why wouldn't you, be sure and give the video a big thumbs up. That will help YouTube to get this kind of long-form content out in front of more people. And if you are not currently subscribed to my channel, please subscribe. It helps a lot. We've had a lot of new subscribers. I got a message from YouTube this morning that in the last month we've had 619 new subscribers to this channel. That's awesome. Thank you very much. We want to keep those numbers going up and up. Okay. So you are Linux curious. You want to install Linux on a computer. You want to play with it. This is where you would begin. Go to linuxmint.com. I will put the link in the description for this video so you can go there and check out this very website for yourself. You will go to this website and you will go to download. I recommend that you start with Linux Mint Standard Edition, and they recommend it as well. So just click where it says recommended. And this will take you to a download page. This is an installation guide. Feel free to read that if you want to. We're going to get the Cinnamon edition of Linux Mint. I recommend this for first-time users. If you know the difference between Cinnamon and XFCE and Mate, then probably you are not somebody who is going to benefit a great deal from watching this video. But for first-time users, I always recommend just get the regular Cinnamon edition, and that refers to the type of desktop you get. Cinnamon is a very good desktop. It's very stable. So then you will scroll down the page here, and you will find a download mirror, which is close to you. In my case, I'm looking for James Madison University, which is in Harrisonburg, Virginia. That's very close to me. I don't live there anymore. I used to. I used to be about 5 miles away from James Madison University, maybe even less. So that's where I would click, but you can click anyone that looks good, it's close to you and all that kind of stuff. Whatever mirror works for you. And you will download an ISO file, which will appear on your hard drive. The next thing that you will need to do is create bootable media. You will need a USB stick, and you will need some way to get that ISO file onto that stick. Windows will do it without installing any software. You can look up the procedure on how to make a bootable USB, or you can download a program called Rufus, which is free, and you can put it on your machine and it will let you create USB sticks too. Linux Mint has a wonderful USB stick creator, super simple program for making these things. I would show you, except if you don't have Linux Mint running, then what point would there be in doing that? So you're going to have to figure that out. It's easy to do on Mac as well. There's lots of great guides online. So once you have a bootable USB, we would want to boot it up on the machine that you would install Linux Mint up on. In our case today, we are going to be creating a virtual machine using GNOME boxes, which is software based on KVM, and it is a Linux native virtualization suite, and it works very well for demonstration purposes. So that's how we're going to do it. So I'm going to go here and I'm going to click on the little plus, which will let me add a machine, and this says install from file. Now I know the fonts are a little small right now. They're going to get bigger. Once I get the VM up and running, we'll make things bigger and easier to see. But for right now, just trust me. I'm going into my downloads folder, and I already have a folder in there called ISO, which has a bunch of images for different Linux distributions I have running all over the place. And what we're going to do is grab Linux Mint 22.2 Cinnamon Edition, which is right there. And I'm going to create a machine. Now, one of the nice things about doing it this way is that we can create any kind of machine that we want to, right? Within reason. I mean, on the main machine, we only have so much resources, so we can't like make it bigger than that, but we can make it into a laptop, which is kind of what I recommend you start your Linux journey on. If you have never used Linux before, I certainly do not recommend that you take your Windows PC and then dump it and put Linux on it. And the reason why is because that's like jumping off in the deep end of the pool and not knowing how to swim. What you want to do is get a junk computer. It can be an old computer. It has to be less than 10 years old. We need a 64-bit computer. 32-bit support is going away now, so we want a 64-bit machine. But if it has 4 gigabytes of RAM in it and a decent-sized hard drive, and we're talking about 256 and up, that's enough for you to play with. You can figure this out. You can go on to eBay and you can buy used laptops for not a whole lot of money. There's a lot of corporate lease laptops out there, and of course the market is now flooded with machines that don't natively run Windows 11, so you should be able to get a pretty up-to-date machine with enough power to give you a good Linux experience for not a whole lot of cash, and we're talking about under $100 US. So you can go check that out if you want to. 4 gigabytes of RAM is plenty for what we're going to do. And I'm going to make the drive a little bit bigger. I want to make it 128 gigabytes. And make sure that I have that 0 out of there, because if I don't, this will default to 512, which I don't want it to do. So that looks good. We're going to call it Linux Mint. It's based on Ubuntu. That's the operating system. Let's do a UEFI install, because most of you will be doing that. And that way, when we get to the installer, it will show us how to do that. So at this point, this is the first boot. When you get to this screen, just hit enter. And we should be to the live screen shortly. Remember that in the live environment, everything runs kind of slow. And the reason why is because it's stored in a format called SquashFS. It's the file system that is used on ISO images. And it has to decompress everything it reads, sort of like a zip file. So it takes a while to read. And if you should be happening to be using an older machine that has an actual DVD drive in it, and you decided to install from a DVD, that's slower still. But God bless you and good luck. Hopefully everything works the way it should. All right, so we now have our desktop, and this would be the time when you are seeing if your internet is working. If your Wi-Fi is not working properly at this point, you can't see any networks, it may mean that you need to install some drivers. So what you would do is get an Ethernet cable and plug it directly in the back of your router, and then install the system using Ethernet. And then once you get it up and running, you can usually go to the driver manager and install whatever drivers you need. So that is how you would deal with that. And you do need to have an internet connection to install Linux Mint. The first thing that I'm going to do is make this so it's easy for everybody to see, including me, because right now we don't have the proper drivers for this to resize the screen in the virtual machine. So the first thing I'm going to do is crank the fonts way up. Let's choose some big fonts. Yeah, 1.6, make them huge. And let's make this screen actually a little bigger, so I'm going to go down to display. Now remember, any settings that you do here don't stick. So don't get into your installation environment, this live environment, and play with it a whole lot, and then install it and get really disappointed when you find out that this doesn't stick. Okay, that looks good. That'll work just fine. Actually, no, I want that bigger. I don't want it 4:3. I want it 16:9. There's a 16:10. Let's see. Let's do this one. There we go. Yeah, that's better. That'll work. You can see what's going on well enough to do what we need to do, which is to run the installer, which I'm going to do right now. So when you're in the live environment, feel free to play around and make sure everything's working. But like I said, we really want to install Linux. We want to have it running on bare metal hardware. That's the best experience for this. It will take a few moments for the installer to load. This is normal. Like I said, we're running at Squash FS speed, which is quite slow. So the first thing you're going to do is choose a language. And then it's going to ask you about a keyboard. And that looks good to me, so we'll keep going. Of course, you choose what works for you. We will install multimedia codecs. We are not going to set up secure boot. Secure boot is if you want more security. If you are running UEFI, set that up at your own risk. It may make it difficult to reinstall later if you have to, especially since we're just learning. You're just learning. Don't encrypt things right now. If you want to reinstall the system later and you want to do it with fancy encryption or whatever, or secure boot, go right ahead. First time around, don't do that, because chances are you're going to break this and you're going to go and reinstall it anyway. Don't try and get everything perfect here either, because you're learning. This is a learning environment that we're setting up. So we want to erase the entire disk. That's what we're going to do. Do keep in mind that when we do this, we are erasing everything on the machine, on the main hard drive that's in the machine. And if you have any data there that you would like to keep, you will have to have that copied onto a USB drive or something else outside of the machine. Because when we go forward here, we are going to erase this drive. It's like nothing was ever on there before. And no, you can't uninstall it once you install it. So if you install over top of a Windows installation, you can't roll back. You would have to reinstall Windows. Next, it's going to ask about a time zone. I am in the eastern US, so that's good. Now we put in some personal information. Give it your name. I like to do the full name, a formal thing there. Some programs use that in Linux. Okay. We're going to call the machine LMVM. Make it super easy. Joe is a fine username. You choose whatever username you like. But it usually defaults to your first name, which is fine with me. Pick a password that is easy to remember and easy to type, because you will be typing it again and again and again. That is part of what makes Linux very secure. I actually got a message from somebody not too long ago who had just switched to Windows from Linux, and they were mad because they had to type their password in all the time. And I was like, well, that's what's keeping you secure. Well, I didn't have to do it on Windows. And I was like, yeah, that's why you could get a virus. On Linux, it's not going to let you do anything that's going to affect the whole system unless you have the authority to do so. And you need to prove that authority every time. So how long is this going to take? Well, it depends on your hardware. It could be anywhere from 10 minutes to 30 minutes, maybe even an hour if you're on a very old, slow machine with a slow connection to the internet. Be patient. Don't play around while this is doing this. This is not the time to be like opening up Firefox and looking at videos and stuff like that. Just let the machine run. You should have already got all your playing done, and you should have all of the applications in the live environment closed in the background while this is happening. Now, I'm going to sit here and watch this, but for you, it's all done. We can go ahead and reboot the system now. Everything seemed to go well. We will restart. This is where you would take out your USB or your DVD, whatever you're installing from. And this is actually rebooting in the background. I just need to click on that again so we can see it in GNOME boxes. it should boot up fairly quickly the first time, hopefully. We have the sign in, so let's go ahead and do that. Log in, rather, is what that's technically known as. You're hearing some strange noises. That's Carly the dog walking up and down the hallway. You may hear strange dog noises as this video progresses. She's 16 and she kind of makes some weird noises. Some other people have heard them in the videos and commented, so I figured I would point that out. This is the reality I live in. So the first thing that we need to do is make this easier to see. I would advise you, the very first thing to do when you install any Linux distribution is to run the updates. Get it up to date before you change anything else, or you might get yourself into some trouble. But in this case, what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to go ahead and jump into the Software Center here. And while that is updating its cache, let's make these fonts really big so they're easy to see. All right, and the paramedics are running from the fire station as well. There they go. So that makes it a lot easier. And get out of there. I think I just closed the software manager by accident. Let's open that back up. Let that finish doing what it was doing. We need to install a driver so that we can resize the screen and put this in full screen mode in our virtual machine so that things look better than they do now. Right now we have a lot of real estate that's wasted. So once we get that open, the piece of software that we're looking for is called Spice. VD Agent. I'll click on that. And we need to install it. It asks for the password. That's what it should do. And as soon as that is installed, we should be able to reboot. And if things go the way they should, we should be able to get a full screen mode here. So let's restart Linux Mint. This is analogous to installing a video driver. You may need to do that. Things might come up looking a little wonky. And usually, like I said, the first thing that you want to do is do updates, but in the case of installing drivers, sometimes you have to jump ahead to make things usable. That's okay. Yes, we can resize the screen. And we can do that by doing that. And this should, there it goes. It's automatically resized. And now we can take a look at what we've got in the startup welcome here. And we'll go to first steps. And you could change the desktop colors if you want to. They have system snapshots. I wouldn't do that now. Let's get the system set up the way we want it, and then I will demonstrate how system snapshots work. It's a program called TimeShift, and it's a very good one. We have the driver manager here, so you could just go click there to make sure that you can find your video drivers or your Wi-Fi drivers. It's not going to find any drivers on this particular installation, even though I did install the video driver manually. What we want to look at first is Update Manager. So let's go there. And we say OK. And what we want to do is go ahead and update the Update Manager before we do anything else. Password. All right, that has reloaded. And I'm going to go ahead and find faster mirrors. Password again. We're making changes that affect the entire system, not just your local user account. You will be prompted to give password approval of every one of those changes every time. So we want to find a mirror that is close to us. Linux Mint is trying to find a fast mirror, but in my case, I kind of know I want James Madison University. Make sure I clicked on that. Yes. And we'll also find that for Ubuntu, which is the base mirror. So just look for JMU on this list, and there it is. And as soon as I found it, it moved. This is always fun, because they're trying to find the fast mirrors. There it is. Okay, apply. And it's good if you can to use mirrors that are in the same location for both Ubuntu and for Linux Mint. That means there's less of a chance of them getting out of step with each other. But sometimes you can't, and if that's the case, just use whatever's fastest. And okay, that is reset in the background. We'll go ahead and refresh this as well before we install the updates. And finding the faster mirrors is going to make doing this go faster because we'll get faster downloads. Let's go ahead and install the updates. Once again, it's asking for approval. We're changing the system. If you want to see what's going on, click Details. It's going to show you the downloads, the list of downloads, everything coming in as it comes. And then once it gets everything, it will actually start installing it. And I have already moved this up here because this is going to get bigger. You'll see in a moment here. And it opens what appears to be a terminal, but it is not a terminal, I assure you. It's just showing you the updates in progress. So I have not cheated and opened a terminal in this video thus far, and we're not going to do so. And once we get things up to date, we're going to do some system setup, and I'm actually going to install Google Chrome because people have been asking about that. How do you install Google Chrome on Linux if you want to use that over Firefox? Because Firefox is pretty standard with most Linux distributions, and I'm going to show you how to put Google Chrome on and take Firefox off, and we will do that all pointy and clicky. There will be no opening of a terminal. I actually have a little script that I have written that does that for me, and it's usually the only piece of software that I download off the internet and put onto my Linux setups. I find most everything I need in the repositories for Debian and Ubuntu these days, and I don't have to resort to snaps or flatpaks or anything. Everything that I need is right where I expect it to be, which is actually totally awesome. But Google Chrome is something that you have to go download. That is a third-party proprietary application. Now is not the time for you to go in the comments and talk about how terrible it is that I use Google Chrome and that nobody should use it, because that's not going to change my opinion. It's not going to make any difference at all. I am way deep into the Google ecosystem. They already know everything about me, so therefore I'm not worried what information they glean from my use of their products. How long does it take to do the updates? Well, it depends on how old your image file is when you download it. If you are downloading Linux Mint 22.3, for instance, or 22.0 rather, that's going to be a pretty old image file at this point, and you're going to get a lot of updates. So once this is done, yes, you want to reboot the computer. Do not pass go, do not collect $200, because they may have changed things about the desktop. And you might click on something and it doesn't act the way it should. So we're just going to reboot the machine now. And here we are. And we're going to go back into full screen mode. There we go. And this is not going to go away until we tell it to go away, but let's see what other things we can look at here. So we've done our updates. We can feel free to check things out. We checked the driver manager. We don't need any drivers. We've done the updates. Next thing that we can do is set up a firewall. It's right here at the bottom. This is a security feature, especially if this is a laptop that you're going to carry around. Type your password in properly. This is why I tell you, get something that's easy to type. So this firewall, we're just going to turn it on. And the only time that you would need to set rules is if you had some sort of server running. So if for some reason down the road you set this machine up for SSH, for instance, then you will need to go find the rule for SSH and make an exception in the firewall. But for everyday use and for most people that aren't going to be doing those sorts of things, we can just turn that on and not worry about it. We've already taken a look at the software manager. And we're going to grab, maybe we will grab a couple of things. So we've set up our firewall. We will go through, let's look through system settings. We're going to grab it over here though. It's right there. And I want to kind of roll through here and show you some things that you might want to pay attention to. So let's see. We have desktop, and I like my desktop to show my home folder because it's kind of geeky. I like it. And while I'm thinking about it, we can go ahead and eject that DVD image. The GNOME box is going to keep presenting that like if there's a DVD in the drive until we tell it not to. Hopefully I'll remember to do that at the end of the video. So if you're playing around in GNOME boxes, you know how to do that as well. So you can take a look at what all this stuff does. I usually just concern myself with the screensaver, because we're not going to need that at all in a virtual machine, and we don't want it to turn on ever. So whatever you want that to do, that's up to you. We can also adjust the panel here. We can do our startup applications, which is really cool. You can see what starts up. So if you're not going to be using SSH, you might not need the key agent. We're not going to need it on this machine. I'm not going to set up a printer because it's a virtual machine. I could, except that GNOME Boxes uses this weird bridged network that doesn't see my main network, so it doesn't see my network printer. So there's no point in doing that. We certainly don't need Bluetooth. I'm not going to do system reports. You can do that if you want to. Update Manager you should leave on. And we don't have NVIDIA, so we can get rid of a bunch of stuff off that list. I'll get out of there. Let's see, what else do we have here? Workspaces. I don't want to really bother with that. We already did the display. Let's look at power management. If you go to power management, then I want the system to never go to sleep. Remember, this is a VM, so we don't need that. So just set never. When the power button is pressed, ask what to do, and balanced is good for most computing. So that's good. We can leave that where it is. We already set up our firewall. We can take a look at users and groups just so I can show you that. And you can go ahead and click on your user, and you can choose an avatar. You can put a picture in here. I'm going to be the astronaut. These pictures have not changed in so many years in Linux Mint and Ubuntu that it's funny at this point. I'm talking maybe almost 15 years. These haven't changed. I'm an administrator. These are the groups I'm in. I want to put myself in my own group, which is something that they don't do anymore, which I don't understand. You should be a member of your own group. But there you go. We did that. Let's see. What else should we look at? Well, here's privacy. Now, this has a few things in it. One of the things that I like to have the machine do is to keep a list of the recent files that I have accessed in the last 30 days. I don't see the need to keep them forever. So it will automatically dump them, so we can get that out of there. Preferred applications. Here's where you will set your web browser and set your mail client if you're going to be using a mail client. Most people won't. We'll probably go ahead and take that off the machine because a lot of people these days don't need something like Thunderbird Mail. They're using webmail. So that's the next thing we're going to do. We've got that all set up the way we want it. And we're going to go ahead and open up the web browser so we can go and download Google Chrome. And to do that, just go up here and Chrome. It should be like the first thing that pops up. And there it is. Okay, we'll go there. Google Chrome. Okay, so we'll go here, and I'm making this bigger so it's easier to see. We go to download Chrome, get Chrome for Linux. We want, and it's already pre-selected, the 64-bit .deb package for a Debian and Ubuntu. That's what's going to work here. Accept and install. Well, just download. We're going to install it manually. So that's down. Go ahead and close up Firefox. Get out of there. And then we will navigate to downloads. There's our file. Double click. And the software manager is going to install that for us. So technically speaking, we do not need to download the old GDebi anymore, because we can do this. This is nice. I usually go get GDebi though, because I have some scripts that actually rely on it. So we are now installing this package. And there we go. And we want to see if we can get that to show up in the menu. So let's go to Internet. And we will right click on Google Chrome. We're going to add it to the panel. And it showed up right there. There it is. And I want to add it to favorites as well. This is your web browser, so you want to have really convenient access to it. Oh, no, that's not what I wanted to do. I want to create a launcher. I want to add to favorites. So back to Internet, Google Chrome, and we're going to add it to favorites, which we'll put it right here. And we're going to drag it up here. Now this can be a fun little exercise in wanting to pull your hair out, because this doesn't work as smoothly as you would like. Mint developers, you might want to check this out, because you just have to kind of nudge it up here. You can't get like real bold and go, okay, I want it up top, because if you do, well, in this case it actually did. Now this is Firefox. We're going to uninstall Firefox now because we don't need it. You can have both running. That's perfectly all right. My mom prefers to run that way. She has Google Chrome and Firefox, and she uses whichever works best for her. In my case, I enjoy using Google Chrome by itself, and I don't need Firefox. So what I'm going to do is uninstall it. And to do that, we are going to open up the software manager again. And now, let's go ahead and find, well, we're going to have to, let's see, let's do Firefox. That's what we want to get rid of, right? Firefox. I thought we would have to reload it, but we don't. So let's just click on the first one that comes up. And this is a different Firefox from a different location. So we're going to go back again. We're going to see which one we have installed. I think it's that one. It says it's a system package. So we're going to remove. That's just a different version. Yes, please. Continue. Shouldn't take it too long. And now it's off the system. And we're going to go ahead and do Thunderbird while we're here thinking about it. Did I misspell that? No, you didn't clear it first. Oh, sorry. Let's put in Thunder. Why? 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 No matching packages found. Why has that got this stuff on the... Okay, I cleared it. There we go, finally. Let's see, is this the one that's installed? No, that's not the one that's installed. This one is installed. Okay, let's remove. Some of those are from Flatpaks, I believe. I'm not sure. I don't usually play around with that. Have fun experimenting. Just different versions of stuff. And that's done. So Thunderbird and Firefox have been removed from the system. Yep. And we no longer have the shortcuts here, so we're good to go. Launchers, that's what those are called, by the way. Launchers. They're called shortcuts in Windows. Some Linux neckbeard out there is shaking his head going, I can't believe you said that. Anyway, let's install some more stuff just for fun here. Let's go to the software, and I'm going to install one piece of software that I find extremely useful, and that is HTOP. I've shown this in other videos. This will run in a terminal if for some reason your desktop is not working properly, so you can get access to it. And it will also run from the menu, point and click. So we're not using the terminal. Not really. Let's see. Let's go find HTOP and take a look at it, make sure it runs. Running fine. And it does open it in a terminal, but I did it from the menu, so it doesn't count. This is where you can look at different things running on your system. And if you have a program that's acting up, you can find it over here, and you can click on it, and you can kill it, so it'll stop running. It's a very cool application to have around. So let's go ahead and get out of that. Just press Q. And we're done. So we have installed Google Chrome, and we have installed some software that we would like to have. We've set up our firewall. We've done some small beautification to the system here and there. We have not worked on the panel. So I guess the last part of the video I'll show you how I set up this panel. Some people have asked, like if you jump over here to my host machine, like I have it different, so if I open something I get, this is more traditional. So if you want to look like this, I'll show you how it's done. But before we do that, we need to go ahead and set up time shift. So at this point in the install, we can assume that we've got everything the way we want it and it's running nicely. We have our printer configured and anything that we need to do. And what we want to do now is set up system snapshots. And system snapshots are a way that if you break something, or if you accidentally uninstall something, or you follow some advice on the internet to make your Linux life better, and it ends up borking up the machine, as long as you can get to some sort of login, and it doesn't have to be a desktop. If the desktop's not working, sometimes you can log into the system and navigate to this, and you can actually restore even if the desktop's not working. But let's pretend you've installed some drivers or something and it's just all messed up. You want to go back to the way it was. That's what we're going to do. So we're going to open up Time Shift. And this is a program which requires ladies and gentlemen, you have just heard a dog sneeze. Bless you, Carly. Okay. So we are going to do rsync because we don't have ButterFS installed anywhere on this machine. Next. It's going to check the system out, and it's going to figure out where it's going to put its snapshots. In this case, we have one drive, so it shouldn't be that big of a deal at all. And we go over here. Now Carly is scratching herself and making all kinds of noise. So we're going to put it right there because that's really the only place we can put it. And we'll go to next. Carly, hush! Jeez. This is my life these days. I've inherited Carly. She is 16 years old. She is a Borky. She is a combination of a Basenji and a Yorkshire Terrier. They make for weird little dogs. Okay, so we're going to do 2 weeklies, and we're going to do 3 dailies, and that should be plenty. I don't really see the need in doing monthlies or hourlies, but this seems to work really well. And we do not want to try and back up the root user's home directory, nor any of the users that are already set up on this computer. So you will see that there. If you add a new user to this computer, come back to TimeShift and reset that, or it's going to try and back up their stuff in the home directory, and it'll try and put it in the root directory. We don't want it to do that. Now, if you know how to use TimeShift, you can make it work. You can use it as a way to back up your home directory, your personal data. If you have a very small amount of personal data, yeah, that's okay. If you have a lot of personal data, not a good idea. So we need to create a snapshot before we can restore a snapshot. And what the system is doing now, it's waiting for the top of the hour. So it's going to wait about another 25 minutes, and then it will check to see if it needs to do a snapshot. And if it does, it'll do one. That's how it does it. When it's running, when you're using your computer in the background, every hour a cron job, yes, I can talk, cron John. Sounds like a sandwich, doesn't it? What do you have? A cron John. No, a cron job is running in the background, and at the top of every hour, it checks to see if a snapshot needs to be created. It looks at the schedule, and it figures all this out. Isn't this cool? And it will create one if you need one. So the next snapshot will be like 35 minutes away. So let's go ahead and create one manually. No, I didn't want to. I want to create. It's over here. I don't know why I clicked delete. Because I do things like that sometimes. My brain is like very strange. So this shouldn't take long. We can go ahead and let it run. Are you enjoying the video so far? Have you learned anything? If you have, put them down in the comments. I would love to hear your reactions to this video. Now, I know a lot of the people who watch these kind of videos have actually been around Linux for a long time, and that's cool. But the people that I really want to see this video are the Linux curious folks, the stuff kind of people, that are just starting out. I don't know. My mouth seems to want to do what it wants to do today. Lord knows what's going to come out of it. So what is this thing doing? It is creating a copy of your entire Linux installation minus the home directory. And when you go to restore it, it will look at this copy we're creating now to see where the changes are, and it will roll back to a known good state. The first time you do this, it takes a little while, but then after that, the only thing that is actually backed up are the changes. These are very incremental backups. And within the TimeShift folder on your machine or directory, you will see that there are all of these different snapshots. Well, it's actually a big hard link farm. So it doesn't actually rewrite the same file over and over and over again for 5 snapshots. It does it once and creates a link. If it changes, it rewrites it in the new snapshot, not the old one. So that's how it can be so efficient and run in the background and you don't know what's going on. When you create these snapshots, you can give them a name. So we're just going to call this one test, right? Because that's what we're doing. We're testing the system. And now what we need to do is change something on the computer and let it restore it. So let's say that we accidentally go to Google Chrome or go to our software manager and uninstall Google Chrome. How about that? Let's say that. So we're going to go ahead and refresh that so it can find it, because if it don't, let's see, it probably won't. Let's go ahead and refresh. And we're going to, once this gets done, we will remove Google Chrome. Usually doesn't take this long, but since we're recording a video and people are waiting for this to happen, it's going to take forever. Now let's see if we can find it. There it is. Google Chrome stable. That's our Google Chrome. We click on that and tell it we want to remove it. What did he say? I don't know. Okay, that's done. And if we open up our menu here, we'll see that that disappeared. And it has not yet disappeared off the panel, but if I click on it, it won't open anything. What do you want to bet? Let's see. Nope, doesn't work. So we know it's gone. Now the machine is mad. It's trying to find this program that isn't there. So that's why we've got the little time thing for our mouse pointer now. So what we're going to do now is we are going to pretend that we looked and we went, oh, we have accidentally uninstalled Google Chrome. Oh my, what will we do? Well, what we will do is restore our system snapshot, and it will put us back to where we were. So we're going to choose Restore, open up TimeShift, and yes, you can do this from a terminal even if the machine doesn't have a desktop running. As long as you can get to this, there's a way to do it. I would suggest that even if you're not going to be terminal-centric, that you go look up how to do TimeShift at least so that you understand what to do. So let's go ahead and we'll say next, and it's going to figure out what's changed, which is not much. We've actually only removed one package. And we're done. So it's figured out what it needs to change. So we're going to say yes, that's fine. Just accept the defaults. It's the safest thing to do. If you try and change anything, that's when you're going to get yourself in trouble. The program is very smart. This is a very simple install. This should not be an issue at all. Now, those are all the files that have changed. They're being restored. Once this is done, it will restart on its own, and we should go back and see that Google Chrome has magically reappeared. At least this is the outcome that we're hoping for. And boom, we're back. We can go ahead and make this go away now. I don't think we're going to need it anymore. We just tell it not to show us when we boot up. We won't see it again. And of course, all of that stuff that we had set up before is there, and Google Chrome is back. So now I'm going to go into TimeShift. And let's open that up. We can go ahead and delete this, and we'll let it create. Yes, I'm sure. Now, if you create a snapshot like that, TimeShift will leave it in the system forever. If it is a manually created snapshot, it'll always be there. If you have an automatically created snapshot as your first snapshot, that will roll out. It'll go away as time goes on, and it will be replaced as new snapshots are done, because when it does a new snapshot, for instance, like we're only keeping 2 weeklies. So if we have 2 weeklies on the machine and it's time to do another weekly, the oldest weekly is deleted. So they're rolling. It's the same thing with the dailies. So a snapshot that is 4 days old, that is a daily, is deleted when we do the one for today. And that's really the way we want to run this thing. We don't want snapshots just sitting there taking up space. So keep that in mind. So as a bonus, let me go ahead and get rid of this because it gets on my nerves. As a bonus, I'm going to show you how I configure the panel to look the way I usually configure it. So if I just right click here, and your direction should be now at the bottom of the screen. Actually, this might be easier to see if I get out of full screen mode. Let's do that. Come on, come back. There it is. So I'm going to go down here to the bottom of the screen, and I'm going to go to Panel Settings, and I want a large panel. Usually I want it to be about 40, maybe a little larger. 42 is good. We'll go with that one. Okay, we want a large panel, and what we want is a panel that will intelligently hide, and I set this up to do, let's see, I wait 250 milliseconds to bring up the panel and a half second to make it go away. That's a little bit of a delay there. So let's see, what else do we have here? In this left side, make the icon size a little bigger. I want to do 32. Make everything big. And let's see, we'll go to the center zone. I don't think there's a whole lot that I want to do there. Let's see, over here we want to make, we can't see the panel. Can I move this up? Yeah, there we go. Now, we want to make this bigger. And I like big icons everywhere. So I'm going to make everything 32 here. And also we're going to choose, let's leave that there for now. I want to increase that font right here. Let's do it. We're going to make that a pretty big font. I want, let's see, let's keep going. It's about as big as it's going to let me, 16. So we want a big clock. If you want it that big, maybe a little smaller. Let's do 14. Okay, that's cool. Looks good. Now what I want to do is to get rid of the little active thing that shows an icon when a program is running. So if you look down there now and I open a program, you'll see, well, that's already there, so it's figured that out. It doesn't do it, but it gets a line under it. And if I hover it over it, I can see a preview of the program. What I want it to do is I want that to be a switcher like I have on my main system. So what we will do is go here and go to, we're going to add to the panel. No, I don't want to add a panel. No, never mind. Escape to get out of that. I want to add to the panel. So applets, there we go. Now, what am I going to add? I am going to add, let's go to Manage. I haven't done this in a while, so I may just have to poke around a little bit. So what we want is a Windows quick list. Plus, and it showed where it showed up, but is that the one that I want, though? Let me open something here and see what that does. I don't think that's the one I wanted, gang. Let's open up that and see what we get. Okay, maybe that's not what I wanted. Nope, I actually installed a double, just a Windows list is what we want. We want to take that off. So here we are going to add that. There we go. Now we want to go ahead and take this off. So we're going to remove that. All right. And now we have to put this panel into edit mode so we can move things around and make it work a little better. So let's go here and go to, let's put it in edit mode. And now we can drag this to here. let's see, about configure. This is Windows list. Maybe that's not what I want either. It didn't want to move, that's for sure. Let me open up something else so I know that's what I want. Oh, you really should have rehearsed this before you started the video. Yeah, probably. Okay, we are in edit mode, so we can't get a menu. No problem. And this is not moving where I want it to go. Hold on, let's take it out of edit mode. I mean, you're not making this look easy, you know. You're just fumbling around. What kind of an idiot are you anyway? Just doing the best that I can. No, that's what we want. Okay, but I don't want it over there. I want to get rid of this one. All right, we'll figure that out in a second. Let's figure out what we got to do. Edit mode. Okay. Now I have to open something so we can see what's going on. This I want to move over here. There we go. And now I want to get rid of this. Yep. Removed the grouped Windows list. Yes. I got rid of all of our icons, but we'll put them back. Our favorites, it went away, but it'll come back. So we can take this out of edit mode. We've moved that where we want it to go. Thank you for being patient with me, those who are watching. All right, so let's go ahead and rebuild our favorites. I want files in my favorites, so let's go ahead and find that. No, I want it on the panel. So add to panel. I put it over here. I want to move it over here. Okay. Put it in edit mode. Now I can drag these over here. That's where we want them, is next to the menu, right there. So boom, that should fall in there. And if we open that, I want it on the other side of that. There, now it's figured that out. We good. Okay, so now we can go into our favorites again, and we can add what we want. And go to Internet. I want to put Google Chrome in there. Make that a favorite. No, that's not what I wanted to do. I didn't want to make it a favorite either. I said the wrong thing, and I was probably getting ready to do the wrong thing. Let's go over here. I want to add it to the panel. Don't worry, I'll figure it all out. Don't hit me. And now that's on the panel. Why do... Yeah, go ahead and remove that. All right. All right, let's try that again, boys and girls. We're going to get it right. I swear we're going to get it right before it's all said and done. We'll do the right thing. We're going to put this on the panel, please. I'm not sure why it's doing what it's doing here. What if I just drag it? Will that work? No, that's not going to work. Yeah, it is. Boom, it worked. All right. Okay, that's how I do my panel. That's how I get it to look the way I do. Let's do one more thing here. Hopefully I'll remember how to do this one. So we're going to go to configure for the menu. And I'm going to type in the menu. I like that. We'll make them. Let's make these big. 32 is enough on that size. And I put in menu because it gives me a big target to hit. Alright, and then we go to the menu. And we're going to make the favorites icons really big. I like them big. Like 40. And I'll leave those the way they are. Let's see, the categories can be a little bit bigger than the... So it looks like this. See, the categories are a little bit bigger, and then we have the lists, and of course you can resize this to do whatever you want. So that's, yeah, basically how I do that, gang. I want to see something real quick here. If I go to accessories, and I'm going to do a calculator, and I'm going to try and add this to the panel, why does that keep showing up over there? There ain't no calculator in there. See how that keeps showing up when I do that? So I've done something wrong somewhere. We get files in a terminal. Let's remove. Let's see what... Oh, I think I'm just sticking icons over here, aren't I? Is that what I'm doing? Well, if that's the case, then you can just drag and drop. So let's say if we want to put celluloid down here. There you go. We'll do it that way. How's that? I kind of like having the individual icons on there anyway instead of that grouped thing. What it's trying to do is it's trying to put it into the grouped thing that when you open something up that it gives you a preview and all that crap. But this is going to be lighter weight. As you can see, that works just fine. Yes, we'll make Google Chrome. We will not automatically send. So there you go. Feel free to play with it yourself. Have fun with this. Real quick, I want to see, is that how I have that set up here? No, I'm doing the same thing. I'm dragging icons there. That's how I'm doing that. And no, I'm not going to set up Google Chrome right now. I got it. Okay, that's nice. Okay, go away. All right, so I have taken you through the basics of the process here. If you are working in a virtual machine environment for real, I'm going to shut this down and I want to show you what I usually do. I didn't want to open that, but I did. Of course. I'm glad this is the end of the video and there's only a few people watching. Oh. Okay, let me go ahead and shut this down again. Some things are a little too easy, man. Like a single click shouldn't fire off the machine. Make it a double click so you can know if I really meant it or not, okay? Thank you. Let's go to preferences. I only need like 3 CPUs. I'm not going to use 8. And to stop that from mounting that every time it boots up, we'll take that out of there. Hopefully it will remember this. Go ahead and close this and open it back up. Now it should remember. Boxes is right there. All right, go to Linux Mint. All right. I want to see very quickly here if my changes took effect the way they were supposed to. So we'll go here, and we're going to open HTOP. Yes, we're good to go. We got 3 CPUs, and we're done. We have a fully functional, up and running, panel customized. I hope you all enjoyed that because I'm sure that was funny to watch. We have the whole thing ready to go here, and you can have fun playing with it. And if you break it, you can go back through the process again. It's not that hard. It didn't take that long. And you probably will do better at setting up the actual panel and the stuff than I did, just simply because of the fact that I'm an idiot. As a matter of fact, I'll probably, when this video is done, go back and redo my fonts and make them more like what I want, because I'm actually going to keep this machine around for a while as a test bed. Hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, give it a like. Your comments and suggestions are always very welcome. We'll do another one again soon. Thanks for watching.